Our next session on today is storytelling, will be delivered by Dr. Ankuran Datta, Associate Professor and Head of the Department Communication and Journalism, Gauhati University. Dr. Datta is a media educator by profession with an experience of more than 15 years and involved in different academic activities in India, Bangladesh, Canada, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Malaysia. He has published many books and research articles. He has also served Commonwealth of Learning and IGO under UN privileges from 2013 to 2015 as program officer. Livelihoods and Skills of Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia, CEMCA, New Delhi. He established the first community radio of Northeast India, Janantranga 19.4 megahertz in 2007 and 2009, and the first internet web radio of Northeast India, Janantranga in 2010-2011. He has been awarded with prestigious national award for outstanding efforts in science and technology, communications in the electronic medium, 2018, by the NCSTC, DST, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India on February 28, 2019. He is also awarded as a Best Media Educator at Media and Media Education Summit 2018. So it's our great privilege to have such a wonderful person. I request Dr. Ankuran Datta to start the session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, and very good morning to all of you. This is really a privilege for me to share something about storytelling in front of this August gathering, and mainly the faculty members of different universities and colleges and the research scholars. So, and my sincere thanks and gratitude to Dr.Arulchelvan, who is a very good friend of mine, and his team for organizing this AICTE-ATAL faculty development program. So let me share my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. My topic is storytelling, the art of storytelling. And I would also like to dedicate this presentation to Dr. Anamika Ray, who actually initiated lots of media-related projects in the northeastern India. So once upon a time, this is a very common phrase for all of us. I hope you can visualize a story from this picture. As explained in the book, unless the power of storytelling win hearts, change minds, get results by Rob Bizenbaz, he has mentioned that stories are all around us. We may not recognize them, but they are there, just waiting to be found, shaped, and shared. So he has also mentioned that storytelling is not just TED speakers, not only for the TED speakers, but or the creative directors or business genius. So they are in everyday experience of less glamorous roles as well. So story is something which is always very different for all of us. What is a story? Or what are the stories? Stories are the most powerful weapon to stimulate our senses. Stories are the most powerful equipment to build trust. Stories are the most powerful capacity to observe. Stories are the most powerful art to rationalize. Stories are the most powerful way to imagine. Stories are the most powerful talent to explain, and the stories are the most powerful method of solution. So if we just take these words, and if we try to make it an abbreviation, then stories means the S for stimulation, that stimulate, then T for trust building, O for observation, R for rationality, I for imagination, E for explanation, S for solution. So that is the stories, and stories are all about us. Stories are everywhere. And it is very interesting that when I went to a program in the United States, and then I just tried to feel that mass communication, basically it is all about the storytelling. Just say for instance, if you are in the if you are talking about hardcore journalism, then also it is a storytelling. So you have to tell a story, and the narrative, the storytelling art is different. For example, if it is a small story, then we follow that objectivity in the, or objective type of storytelling, or otherwise it is and means explanatory kind of thing. Or even we nowadays we also tell the stories using the data, right? So which is very popular nowadays as data journalism or data visualization. So data visualization is also a telling a story. If you take another example of for say for instance, that advertising, that within a 30 seconds time or within a 15 seconds time you have to tell a story. So it is all about the storytelling. If it is a public relations, then also you have to tell the story. So in all the disciplines of this multidisciplinary discipline of mass communication, that it is all about the storytelling. So we teach basically storytelling in different ways, but we do not basically teach them as a very systematic way, that what is stories or how we have to present the stories, and which is very important in nowadays. So storytelling is the core of this multidisciplinary discipline of mass communication. So connecting your audience with a story by stimulating their senses enables them to use their imagination to feel, smell, touch, listen, and to visualize images or pictures is called the story. Story is the beginning of everything, and the end is and what we have already discussed, that story is the beginning of the everything, and the end is where it is stopped its narration. So story is everything, means if you but a story never dies. The beginning of the universe starts with a story. The planting of a seed is also a story. The end of something is also a story, and the beginning of another story. So story is everywhere, and we have to we should know that art of telling a story. That's all. Just as I mentioned, that story is everywhere, and story is everything of beginning of everything, and the end is where it is stopped its narration. So until you stop the narration of a story, it continues, right? And as I already mentioned, that the beginning of the universe is also a story. The planting of a seed is also a story. So everywhere means we have to identify the stories, and we have to tell the stories, and in a proper way. For example, this FDP is primarily focused on photography and media. So in photography, it is a nowadays we concern about the digital photography because analog photography is already gone, and or celluloid photography is already gone. So in the digital photography, it is all about digital storytelling. So you have to tell the story. Just yesterday only there was a photograph which was very viral in the social media, and I liked a lot. There is a in a hall. I think you know you have noticed that there is always entry sign and exit sign. Particularly, exit signs are there inside of the hall. Okay, and the photographer has taken the photograph with that exit that card and Donald Trump on the desk. So it says a story, it tells a story. That is the storytelling. So whenever you even take a photograph, if that photograph says something, then it is the best photograph, right? If you can tell a story with the photograph, that will be the best story you ever capture. So let us discuss about the 5 C's of storytelling. Uh, as you know that these 5 C's are, I just tried to frame 5 elements. These are the context, character, concept, conflict, and the construct. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. Context. Context refers to the background or details surrounding an event that occurs in storytelling. So context is very important. That is a platform, right? That is a background of the details surrounding of an event that occurs in the storytelling. So details about the setting, a character's past, or even the time period of a story can help to set the context. Understanding the context can help an audience to better understand and interpret the events of the plots. So that is why context is so important for us. The context makes that understand. Just a minute, it is. Sorry. Okay, context makes understanding possible in a story you are telling for an audience, and they need to understand what is going on. So context is the most important element in any storytelling. I shouldn't say that the most important element, but it is one of the very important elements of the storytelling. So next is also it is the character. So a character's development speaks of the depth of complexity of a character. It is possible that a character starts out thoroughly developed, or it may that the storyteller chooses to slowly develop that character as the plot unfolds. So there may be different kinds of characters. As I have mentioned here, that a character is any animate figure within a story. So things like plants, non-living objects would not normally be considered characters unless, of course, these things have been personalized and brought to life. So we can think of anything as a character. I have just mentioned here that one of my it is what you can say, I don't know, I don't want to say as novel, but some writing that it is going to be published as ventriloquist. Here also in this ventriloquist, I just narrated something of my life. So this character, as I mentioned, that it depends on the storyteller, how you are going to tell the story, means how you are going to represent the characters, how you are going to introduce the character in front of your audience. Okay, so I would like to also mention that it may be for example, in journalism, that in the hardcore journalism, then the characters are the real characters, but somewhere else in other medium, that your characters are some animated characters, means not animated means not the cartoon, but some imaginary characters you can use. So we can categorize the characters based on the role include. It may be a protagonist, it may be antagonist, it may be deuteragonist, it may be tertiary, it may be confidant, love interest, or soil. So we can categorize the characters into mainly 7 categories based on their roles, and these 7 categories are the protagonist, the antagonist, deuteragonist, tertiary, confident, then love interest, and the foil. So these are the 7 categories, 7 types of characters which are included in the storytelling. So based on the quality of the character, again we can just categorize differently based on the quality of the characters, like dynamic or changing character, and then static or unchanging character, then stock, then symbolic or round. So these 5 are the characters which we can categorize based on the quality. Okay, number 1 is the dynamic or the changing character, then static or unchanging character, then stock, symbolic, and round characters. So next important point is the concept. Concept is always very, very important in any storytelling. Your stories will be appreciated by the audience only when the concept is good, concept is innovative. So concept is basically an idea. Concept gives us a general idea of what a story is about, a view from afar. The concept pulls us in closer so that we get a better sense of what is going on in this story. It introduces character, plot, and possibly the setting. So the concept, whenever you watch a movie, then if I ask you that what are your most favorite movies, then definitely you select some movies based on your interest, right? Some of the movies, some of the participants may like Bollywood movies, some of the participants may like the means Hollywood movies or the foreign movies, or some of the means audience may like the regional movies or the parallel movies only, or some of them may like the commercial movies. So it depends on the interest of the people, but what we basically look into it, that is the concept. If the concept is something different, if the concept is innovative, then it is always different, right? Then again, the idea or innovation, what I would like to mention here, that innovation may be visible innovation or the invisible innovation, right? So visible innovation, which we can identify that it is something different in this concept. In the concept, if it is entirely different, a new concept is introduced, then it is we may say that it is a visible innovation. But on the other hand, if there are something which is added, but which is not very much, which you cannot recognize it as a is a very visible thing, then it can be considered as invisible innovations. But innovations should be there to make a concept very fruitful or to make a concept very successful among the people. Then the interesting thing is that in the storytelling is the conflict. So it is often used to reveal a deeper meaning in a narrative while highlighting characters' motivation, then values and weaknesses. So conflict is always there in the storytelling. Without a conflict, a storytelling cannot be completed, right? So the storytelling in conflict, again, we may categorize conflict into mainly 6 different conflicts, apart from the external versus internal conflict. These 6 types of conflicts are character versus self, character versus character, character versus nature, character versus supernatural, character versus technology, and character versus society. So if you just just think about your favorite movies, then you will find that what kind of conflicts are used in those movies. It may be, for example, in the robot kind of films, it is basically character versus technology. So, or character versus character also is another conflict. Means it may be combination of two kind of conflict. So, in the storytelling, but it is very important that we have to think about this conflict in the entire story. Otherwise, if there is no conflict in a story, then it will be a very flat kind of story, and that we will be unable to attract or to grab the attention of our audience, right? So that is why we have to think that what kind of conflict will be there. If it is an imaginary story, if it is a real story, then conflict will automatically come. Uh, so I would like to share with you the types of conflict again. One is the character versus self, and then character versus character, then character versus nature, character versus supernatural, character versus technology, and finally character versus uh, society. So these are the various types of conflicts which are we commonly see in a storytelling. Finally, in the 5 C's, I would like to mention here the construct. Construct is a sequence of events, a representation or specific manifestation of the story. So construct is the flow of the story. It is very important in any storytelling, because without a rhythm, without a flow, you cannot tell the story effectively. So construct is the flow of the story or the rhythm of the story. So it is very, very necessary and essential in a storytelling. So narrative is a choice of which events to relate and in what order to relate them. So it is a representation or specific manifestation of the story rather than the story itself. The easy way to remember the difference between story and the construct is to reshuffle the order of the events. So story and the construct, which is a basic difference, that story may be some ideas, some concepts as we discussed, but a construct gives a story in its full form, with the proper sequence of the events, with proper rhythm of the events or proper flow of the story. So these are the basic things that I wanted to tell or wanted to share with you about storytelling. And let me also explain a little bit about digital storytelling. Will it change the art of storytelling, the traditional storytelling? So a digital story is a multimedia representation or multimedia presentation combining a variety of digital elements within a narrative structure. So within the same narrative structure, if you incorporate, if you add some digital elements, then it will be considered as a digital storytelling. Media may include text, images, audio, video, social media elements, and interactive elements, etc., in the entire digital digital storytelling. So in the earlier traditional storytelling is like a grandpa is telling a story to his grandson or granddaughter. That is a kind of traditional storytelling, and that has a means we actually in our childhood also, I could always remember that my grandparents always used to tell the stories, and we just tried to visualize the things. Even the radio storytelling is something different. I would like to share with you something, means a radio feature, that how a radio storytelling can be possible. And I think all of you listen to radio drama in your childhood. And I could still remember in my childhood, on every Friday there was a radio drama. Uh, It was from the All India Radio, and we waited for the radio drama. And when the radio drama started, so we generally we used to close our eyes and try to visualize and try to involve in that entire situation, in that context, in the conflict, in the characters. Even, for example, if there is a sound of dripping of water somewhere, that also, because there is no visual element, but you have to visualize, you have to imagine the entire situation. So the entire storytelling is used with that particular concept of the visual, that audio thing. So we try to visualize the things with that storytelling, right? So digital storytelling combines the best of two worlds: the new world of digitized video, photography, or art, and uh, and the and the old world of telling the stories. Uh, it is basically the modernization of the old storytelling method. Digital storytelling is nothing but it is the modernization of the old storytelling method, as I told that. But nowadays, digital storytelling is very, very popular in the social media platforms. I think you have always noticed that some of the messages become viral in the social media, for example, in Facebook or in Twitter, or even in the LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. So why those stories are becoming viral? Only because of the art of the storytelling. So the message is not so important in some contexts, but or the concept is, but the concept is important, means, and the way how you are going to represent, how you are going to present the entire story, that is very important in the digital storytelling. So in the social media, the world is all about the social media nowadays. And so we have to develop that art of storytelling. How you can develop that? I think you have noticed that if you write something very serious in the social media, then it is, you will get very less number of likes or emojis, or the means reactions from your audience. But if you add any photograph, more particularly any personalized, any personal photograph, then you are going to get more likes and more responses from, or reactions from the audience. So this is only because that these are the characteristics of the digital storytelling. There are some differences of the digital storytelling from the traditional storytelling, but it is the combination of the traditional storytelling with the digital world, or digital method, or digitized videos, digitized photographs, or digitized art. So uh, I would like to mention here about that why alternative media is important in front of us. The alternative media, because I'm a person from the community media background and alternative media. So alternative media that alternates the mainstream media, and what we understand about the alternative media. And alternative media are forms of media that differ from the current established mainstream, whether it be by content, format, or the distribution. Alternative media can be print, digital, audio, video, and so on. Why alternative media is required? So alternative media is something different, that we always get that particular means what I generally try to utilize, try to use all the people, that how alternative media is different and how alternative media can help us. Because if you consider all these mainstream media outlets, then you will find that all the mainstream media outlets are basically about us or for us. Okay, something for us, because we are the consumer, we are the viewer, we are the audience, right? That is why they are all the mainstream media outlets. They designed all the messages, or they designed all the news reports for us, but they are not a little bit about us. Their main power center is around the politicians and the industrialists, but sometimes we also give the scope in the mainstream media as the common people if we do something extraordinary or something different. And I always remember that in the mainstream media, once, I think you know a very renowned political analyst, Paranjoy Guhothakurata, he was also the editor of EPW for a brief time. But Paranjoy Guhothakurata once he mentioned that the Indian media is all about three C's. They are crime, cricket, and cinema. And if you think and if you go through the contents of the mainstream media, then you can just feel that it is not absolutely 100% correct, but the contents are really based on crime, cricket, and cinema. These crime, cricket, and cinema, all these three C's always give the preference in the mainstream media. So, but the alternative media, or mainly the community media, are the media that are for us, about us, of us, and by us. So that is why that is our own media. Whatever we want, we do not know about the agenda setting of the mainstream media. We do not know whether the Biden's story or should be the first story or the lead story of today's newspaper or something else. The agenda is set, the agenda is decided by the members of the media outlets, not by the common people. The stories are not discussed with the media, with the audience. So what we consume, that is basically the agenda which is set by the media house. But in the community media, it is completely different. The earlier in the mainstream media, it is a top-down model. In the community media, it is a down-to-top model. So the people, the common people, will decide that what kind of content should we cover. Okay, and that content is going to be covered in the mainstream media. So I would like to show you something, 2-3 things. Then I think it will be more easier for you to comprehend about community media, and how community media can use the storytelling as a very effective tool, so that the people can use the community media for best storytelling method. So I would like to end this presentation, and I would like to show you something else. Okay. I would like to show you the entire screen. Yes. Then okay. So here in this storytelling, can you see this my screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I would like to show you that how we nowadays we start a story in this new digital storytelling methodology. Okay, and for example, this is a story that is published very recently in the Scroll. So I wrote this story about the first community radio of Northeast, that is Gyan Taranga, and I was very upset because this radio station was set up. I'm the founder of this, the first community radio, and this radio station is means it was non-functional for several times, and so I just tried to I just tried to write about a story about this radio station. So this is, I think you have noticed that the Northeast India's first community radio station has become another casualty of COVID-19. After running for 333 hours in 37 days of lockdown, it has stopped transmission for now. So what I just mentioned here that I have given just the story. I think you have just noticed that the story not started with the concept of the means the earlier type of style of writing, because it is a feature kind of writing. It is not the hard story. So that is why it is not like in the inverted pyramid structure. And I have just started the entire story with a person. Shanto Kolita, a newspaper hawker, started his journey with Gyantaranga 90.4 7 years ago. At that time, he worked at a photocopier shop in Dispur, Guwahati's political district. One day, while tuning a radio in their shop, Kolita, he stumbled upon a new FM station. It was Gyan Taranga, Wave of Knowledge, the community radio station that had started life in Assam. So Kolita approached, then I just mentioned about his association, how he started with the radio station. And it is very interesting that he made 2,000 telephone calls in 5 years. So that was the most important story for me, that a person who was a newspaper hawker who made 2,000 telephone call to a radio station, to a community radio station. That is more important for me. Then also I just mentioned about another story, a lonely shift that Sinmoy Kolita. I mentioned about Sinmoy Kolita also. He is Mr. Santo Kolita and his son Sinmoy Kolita. So I mentioned about Sinmoy Kolita, a 14-year-old student of 8th standard from Beltola, Guwahati city, was a volunteer come child program producer of Gyan Taranga, the first community radio service of the Northeast India. His father, Santo Kolita, a newspaper hawker, started his journey. That I started in a different way. Then I also mentioned about Mr. Monus Kumar Deka. I think you have noticed that photograph, that the first, yeah, this photograph of of Monus Deka. He's 43-year-old. So Monus Deka, within bracket 43, an empaneled Kotha Bandhu, that is radio anchor, single-handedly ran 333 hours of broadcasting in 37 days during the initial lockdown period. After receiving the assignment from Gyan Taranga, since no permanent employee could come, I used to arrive at the studio by 8 a.m. every day from April 1, 2020, and ran the station till May 7, 2020. It was a different kind of experience. There was no one on the streets of Guwahati. I reached the studio at about 8 a.m. With a tiffin box in the campus, where thousands of employees of the different offices create noise every day. There was an eerie silence, and only the chowkidar opened the door. I used to clean the studio first, then start broadcasting for two shifts till 6 p.m. I used to sing while going back home to dominate over the depressing silence of in the streets. I used to get only 600 rupees for two shifts for broadcasting per day. But honestly, I enjoyed a lot, said Deka, who served the community radio from its inception 2010. So this is, see, that what we generally, how we generally nowadays tell the stories. And I think you have noticed that everywhere, even in the newspaper, mainstream newspaper also, even in the radio, in television, in everywhere nowadays, the presentation of a story is a kind of means something different. It is not very straightforward. So we have to say something differently. And the community radio is my area, that I always work with the community radio. And what I defined as community radio is the low power FM broadcasting primarily low power FM broadcasting service, owned, controlled, managed, and run by a particular community with a non-profit motive for providing and sharing information, education, and entertainment, which may lead to eradicate digital divide, address identity crisis, remove socioeconomic hindrance, promote political culture, and resolve local issues resulting in overall development of a community. So this is the community radio, the concept of the community radio, what we basically, I personally believe, and it has that role. Here I would also like to mention that during my time in the Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia, we developed a model called Community Learning Program with the help of our headquarters in Commonwealth of Learning in Vancouver, and also with lots of community radio stations in Malawi, in Caribbean countries, and in other parts of the world. And so it was a consultative thing, and we developed that model, community learning program, and that model was based on formative research. And it is in this model, basically, when you are going to tell a story, then before that you have to develop the message matrix. So developing message matrix is very important. Message matrix means, for example, if you are going to discuss about the menstrual hygiene of a rural or remote area, that the topic itself is not very important topic, that or which, of course it is very important topic, but we generally do not want to discuss in the public forum about the menstrual hygiene. But it is very, very important for the common people, for the rural people. So how you are going to develop the program, how you are going to start the tell the story. Okay, so when you use that storytelling methodology here, then it is very important that you have to you have to discuss with the common people. You have to discuss with the village girls, and also as old ladies, and women of the village. And also after discussing with those people, then you have to develop the message matrix. In the message matrix, there are basically 4 columns. The first column is the bad behavior. What is the bad behavior going on in that particular society or in that village? Then the consequence. So you have to write both the bad behavior and the consequence. Then good behavior and the benefit. Finally, in the developing, while develop a developing message, then you have to finally, you have to give more stress on the development message, that is the benefit. So benefit, you have to tell the benefit among the people. So I would like to share one radio program here, and I think it will be you will be happy to listen to this. Of course, it is in Assamese, but I think it will be more. You can understand that how it was designed, how it is designed. But before that, let me also share that break the fake tunes that we developed this. We actually conducted this campaign called Check the Fake on COVID-19 in the month of April. It is, I think it is only organized campaign against the fake news. I don't want to use the term fake news because news cannot be fake. So rather I would like to use the term information disorder, which includes the misinformation, disinformation, and the malinformation. So Check the Fake on COVID-19 was a campaign. And see, here there are 2 characters. I think you have just noticed the 2 characters, that one is pandemic and the other is the infodemic. Everywhere, if you just notice that these 2 characters, then you will find this pandemic and infodemic. So how we visualize, how we wanted to tell the story on different fake news using these 2 protagonists or antagonists, this pandemic and infodemic. So the character of pandemic is full of patience, confident, as it knows that it has the power to destroy the world slowly and steadily, one day or the other. Since no antidotes is discovered or means it is available in the market till date. But on the other hand, infodemic may be characterized by overconfidence, witty, mischief, and stubborn, as as it knows all the tactics to bind the people into its clutch. Stubborn because its objectives of viraling a fake message is pretty clear whether it has its antidote or not. So this check the fake campaign became very popular, and it was covered by almost all the national media houses, even many universities, many organizations across the world also appreciated this effort. So here, I think you have just noticed that there are two characters, this pandemic and the infodemic, and we tried to visualize infodemic as the yellow color. I think you have noticed that it is yellow color, and the green is a dark green, kind of greenish color with this pandemic, because coronavirus or COVID-19 has this kind of reflection of this kind of color. So color has also lots of meaning here, yet here infodemic is in the yellow color because it is a kind of yellow journalism concept is also associated. No? So that is why it's a different. So see, in this particular character that the coronavirus or COVID-19 has asked the infodemic that if people maintain social distance, I have difficulty surviving. Then infodemic has replied, if people recheck news before forwarding, I have difficulty. Okay, so similar kind of that there was also a message that there is a shortage of salt, and that was also a fake news, and how it was popularized. Then infodemic has COVID-19 has asked that I want more young people infected. Then infodemic has replied that don't worry, I will people believe coronavirus only infects the old. So that was also a concept I think you could remember. And regarding use of newspaper was also a means that newspaper could carry the virus, and so we made this cartoon on the character, and then so this was our report. Actually, we tried to make this COVID fake news thing, and it became we liked it a lot actually. So here I think you have noticed in this particular cartoon that this COVID-19 has said that every minute millions of fake news are forwarded in the world. And then COVID-19 asked infodemic that how many did you contribute today? So then Tali and Thali kind of thing, I think I always say that it is a superstition. And although the intention of the Honorable Prime Minister was different, he wanted that the people come forward with a from this isolation and during this lockdown, very frustrating lockdown period, and also to boost the morale of the frontline warriors, but it became a superstition in the Indian context of Tali Thali and also lighting candles of 9 candles kind of thing. So this was one of the thing that I wanted to mention. Then I would like to play this radio program. Is it audible? Can you just tell me, is it audible?
চহৰৰ পৰা অলপ আঁতৰৰ এখন গাঁও,
Yes.
ঢেকীয়াতলি গাঁও। গাঁওখনৰ সোমাজৰ তিনিআলিত থকা কাচিৰামৰ গেলামালৰ দোকানখনৰ একেবাৰে কাষত এখন সৰু সুৰা কাপোৰ চিলোৱা দোকান।
So it says that in this story that there is a small place in a village, and in the village there is like a chalk, right? And so there are a few shops, and there's a huge tree, and very near to the tree there's a small tailoring shop.
দোকানখনৰ সন্মুখতে ওলমি আছে বিজয়া দৰ্জী নামৰ মামৰে ধৰা ফলকখন।
বিজয়া বাইদেউ, পেনটো ৰিফিল মাৰিবলৈ দিছিলো, হ'ল নে? হ'ল, লৈ যোৱা।
So it says that there is a small signboard in front of this tailoring shop, and it is written that Bijoya Tailor, and but that even that signboard was also not in a good shape. It is the words are vanished, like means it is not very properly visible. It's a small kind of it gives that visualized. It tries to visualize that particular scene, that you are in a very small remote place, and in the remote place there is a chalk kind of thing, and where some at least 7-8 shops are there, okay, in a char alley or in this particular area. And so in that particular area that there is a small tailoring shop, and means that tries to visualize the entire concept.
বিজয়া এগৰাকী 45 বছৰীয়া অবিবাহিতা মহিলা। দেখাত ক্ষীণমিন আৰু মুখলৈ চালে এনে লাগে যেন কিবা এটা ভাবি আছে, যেন কিবা এটা ডাঙৰ চিন্তাত পৰি আছে। কেতিয়াবা আকৌ এডাল দুডালকৈ পকা চুলিও তেওঁ অসুবিধা দিয়ে।
It is the explanation, or it is the description of Bijoya Tailor, and how she looks like. She's a middle-aged woman, and unmarried, and also there are a few gray hairs, and very lean and thin.
বিজয়াৰ ঘৰত বৃদ্ধা মাক দেউতাক, চৰকাৰী চাকৰিয়াল ভায়েক, বোৱাৰীয়েক আৰু দুটি ভতিজা।
So in her house, her at home, she has her parents and a government servant, younger brother, and also sister-in-law.
বিজয়া সৰুতে শুকান মুখখনৰ সৈতে ক্ষীণমিন ওখজনী আছিল। পুৱাই ঘৰৰ সকলো বাহিবন কৰি গা পা ধুই ভাতকেইটা খাই খৰধৰকৈ কাঁহী বাতিকেইটা ধুই হাতত কিতাপ বহি লৈ লগৰীয়াৰ লগত হাঁহি ধেমালি কৰি গাঁৱৰ LP স্কুলখনলৈ যায়।
It says that she was very beautiful in her teenage, and how she used to go to the school along with her friends. So it is a description about her teenage.
এই হাঁহি ধেমালিত হেৰাই যায় ঘৰত কাম কৰা ভাগৰখিনি। কিন্তু যেতিয়া ভাইক জন্ম হ'ল তেতিয়া
আমাৰ ভাইটি
But when her brother after birth of her brother, so she stopped going to school because that she had to look after her brother.
আজি মই নাযাওঁ, ভাইটি খেলাই আছো।
Today I am not going to the school.
এইদৰে এদিন দুদিন কৰি বিজয়াৰ স্কুল ক্ষতি হ'বলৈ ধৰিলে। ইফালে ঘৰতো কামৰ বোজা বাঢ়িল। ভায়েকক চোৱা, ঘৰৰ কাপোৰ কানি ধোৱা, বাচন বৰ্তন ধোৱা আৰু যে কিমান কাম। বিজয়াক এইদৰে কামত
So means she stopped going to school, and she had to look after everything at all the household works, like washing the utensils, then washing the clothes, and also to look after her younger brother.
বুজাই কোঙা কৰি পেলোৱাত পঞ্চম শ্ৰেণী পাৰ হ'ব নোৱাৰিলে আৰু তাইক মাক দেউতাকে স্কুল এৰুৱাই দিলে আৰু যেন কান্ধত তুলি দিলে আৰু অলপ কামৰ বোজা। কুমলীয়া বয়সত ইমানবিলাক কাম কৰাৰ বাবে বিজয়া শুকাই ক্ষীণাই আহিবলৈ ধৰিলে। চকু দুটাও দিনক দিনে গাঁতত সোমাই গৈছে। মাজে সময়ে মূৰটো ঘূৰাই থাকে।
It is also mentioned here that she couldn't maintain her beauty because that overload of work during that time, because she had to look after almost all the work, household work of the family, and so that she couldn't maintain her beauty.
তথাপিও কিন্তু মাকৰ এটাই কথা,
মাইকী মানুহে কাম কৰি ভাগৰিলে হ'ব নেকি? এতিয়া কাম নিশিকিলে কেতিয়া শিকিবি? যা ৰ'দৰ পৰা ধানখিনি চপা।
বিজয়াৰ মাকৰ ওপৰত
So her mother used to say that you shouldn't be tired with the work, because this is the duty of all the women, and so you have to work, so there is no alternative.
কেতিয়াবা খুব খং উঠে, কিন্তু একো ক'ব নোৱাৰে। বিজয়াই কৰিব লাগে, ভাইকে নালাগে।
ইমান দেৰি লাগিছে নেকি? বস্তা ধান ভৰাই থোৱা আছে, বাবুলৰ মেচিনত গোটাই আনগে যা। কি ভাইটি নাই নেকি? জানো কলৈ গ'ল। মই চিলাই স্কুললৈ যাবলৈ দেৰি হৈছে। এফালে ঘৰত চাউল নাই।
So it says that all the importance of the family was given to her younger brother, and so he was provided all the facilities to study, but finally his sister Bijoya, she had to sacrifice her life. She is a school dropout, and she even couldn't complete her class 5, and also she had to take all the responsibilities of all the household works, but her brother used to study, and so he has enough time, and he was not involved in any other activities.
আজি দিব নেকি?
বহুত শকত দৰা।
So I'm not going to play the entire episode, because it will be a little bit difficult for you also to understand, but just I played only because to understand that how it was created. It is a community program. It was developed by the community members, not by the renowned broadcasters. Okay, so in the next phase, it is said that some money was means deposited by the parents for the marriage of Bijoya. And but I would like to also mention here that there is no dowry system in Assam, and mostly in the northeastern states, so we do not have to give any money or dowry to in the time of marriage, but still there is some money is required, because to arrange the or to for to even for the party, or during the marriage time, basically some money is required, even it is in the remote area. So that money was deposited by her parents. But at that time there was a for one job, that money was required by her younger brother, and that was given to her younger brother for that job, and he got a job. Okay, and he got a job, and then he also got married. And but Bijoya, uh, Bijoya's life was it was like a means what I can say, it was like she stayed there in that village, and she started a small shop of tailoring. And even she couldn't even she sacrificed her entire life. So with this particular episode, it was trying to means reflect a means agony of a village woman, okay, unmarried woman, and it is based on a real story. So the community broadcasters actually they collected this information from the village area, that what kind of means status of the women in the we often we say about the women empowerment, but in the remote areas, that the status of the women, how it is how they are treated by even by their parents, even by their mother and their family, other family members. So it was actually mentioned and well reflected in this particular radio feature. So storytelling is all about, as I mentioned, that it is all about an art, right? That how you can just tell the story. So in this just I think I don't know whether you could able to feel that particular feelings in this feature or not, because you are unable to understand the language. But what I would like to mention, that how it was developed, no? Means how you can just tell the story, that is very, very important actually. Okay, so it is more art than the science. That means how you can collect the information, that, and again the information that, as I mentioned, that you can collect the information in a message matrix format. If you use that message matrix, then it will be more easier to tell the story. If you have, suppose if I give you some data or a topic on, for example, COVID-19, you have to mention, you have to tell a story about about COVID-19, then what would happen? What would be the problem? That what will generally you do? You collect some information from the internet, and then you just start broadcasting. If it is a live program, you start broadcasting. But this is not the way of proper storytelling. Then what will happen? The messages will be not designed in a sequence of events or in a particular flow. Okay, if you with the same message, if you try to develop a message matrix with 4 different criteria, means 4 different columns, that bad behavior of the people, the consequences, the good behavior, and the benefit, then you can present the entire whole thing based on that message matrix, and the flow will be maintained in a very suitable manner. Okay, so that is why the storytelling, in the storytelling, that is very important, that how you tell the story. What is the story? That is not so important. It is of course important that the idea should be innovative, the concept should be innovative, but it is not the main thing. But the main thing is that how you represent, how you present the entire story, how you introduce the character, how you show the conflict. Okay, so these points are very important in front of you. So I would like to conclude here. It is almost more than 1 hour I spoke, and I'll be very happy if I can answer any of your questions.
Dear Professor Ankuran Datta.
Yes.
Your session was quite informative, and I would like to have some light on, since you have worked on more on the community radio aspects.
Yes, please.
And you are the, and apart from that, you are also the first person to start a community radio in your place. Therefore, congratulations to you. And regarding the, you have showed us the different programs that you have made over. And apart from that, it's the community people who have made different programs for the betterment of the community. Regarding the development of different programs, how far you have also spoke about the measure metrics, understood. And in community radio, there are many things to be explored for the betterment of the community.
Right.
From your experience, please tell us, how shall we involve the, because different students are being involved also in developing their own innovative ideas in community radio, because their part is also most important, because when they start, join as a student in a, even departments, we make them to have a tie-up with other community radio stations, and they go and do different programs, innovative programs. From the students' point of view, you please tell us how they shall develop themselves in imparting or bringing out their innovative ideas.
Okay.
And telecasting.
Thank you,
programs.
Yeah. See, I am associated with the entire community radio movement in the country for a long time, and also I worked with almost all the community radio stations of Bangladesh, then Sri Lanka, and many of in India. So from my see, now here it is very different kind of situation that in many community radio station, if it is a community radio station owned by a civil society organization, so then the audience or the volunteers are different. And if it is owned by any, not owned by it, if the platform is provided by any educational institution, then there are lots of students are associated or involved in the community radio. And in that particular case, how we can develop the interest of the students for the community radio programming. So I am also in a very honest that I am also struggling with that because nowadays the students' orientation is slightly different. They want more glamour. I think all of you will agree with me that nowadays the media students, they do not read newspapers, they do not watch television, they do not listen to radio, but they want to be a media person. Okay, so they want glamour, but there are some students always we find that who want to be involved in particularly in the development organizations and developing the suitable messages, particularly the development messages. So as I mentioned, that main target of any community media is not only the community radio, it may be the community video also, or a community newspaper also. That main idea is the overall development of the community. So for the community perspective, that we have to, they should be asked to use different kinds of formats. So radio programming is a kind of means you have to make what I would like to say, that you have to develop the interest among the students first, that how beautiful, how suitable this medium is. Okay, and after that, once they develop that means the beauty or the romance of this radio, then only they will be able to develop good programs. That is the first criteria. That is the first priority of all the media educator, that you have to develop the interest of the students. That is number one. So secondly, you should ask the students to utilize different kind of formats, not only one format like radio talk, radio feature, radio documentary, radio drama, radio docu feature, radio magazine. So different kinds of messages, different kinds of means programming, you have to means they should be exposed with the different kinds of programming. That is another very important point. And lastly and more interestingly, they have to listen to some good programs. If they are exposed only with the frequency modulation, that is the all the commercial FM radios, then their orientation will be different. They will follow only the that broken or mixed language of the FM, means jockeys, radio jockeys. Okay, so that is a different case. But if they want to develop the serious radio programs, then they have to listen to these kind of programs. So there is, I think you know that one platform, but it is not maintained well, I believe, at this moment. Ek Dunya Onek Awaz was a platform where, or Munch, there are two platforms where different kind of radio programs, particularly the community radio programs, are available. So my idea is that to make the students interested in the radio programming and innovative radio programming, they have to listen to the programs first, and after that they have to experiment with different kind of formats. So that is, I think, very crucial in the development of radio program.
Thank you, Professor, for your exploring of different radio formats. Thank you.
Another question. Hello.
Good morning, sir. This is Dr. Fakir Mohan from Chandigarh University.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Good morning, Dr. Fakir Mohan from Chandigarh University.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Fakir ji. Yeah.
I have a question actually. When we are talking about storytelling, particularly on radio, right? My point is that how your modulation and variation, those matters in our presentation. That is my technical question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fakir ji. And so it is really a very good question. That modulation is very, very important. And see, it is all about that voice, right? So here, I would like to mention that the beauty of this medium is that whenever we want to write an article, of course, the concept is required, that what we want to write. But what is the element? What is the thing required? A blank page, right? So just try to imagine the silence in the radio program. You have to develop the program based on the silence, like a blank page for the article. Okay, just try to fill the silence. The silence in the midnight at 2 o'clock is different. The silence in a remote area at 9 is different. The silence in a 5-star hotel is different. The silence inside a crowd is also different. In the crowd also there is a silence. So you have to, means if the students or your students should understand that silence first if they want to do in the radio. Silence, understanding silence is the most important thing, and based on the silence only they have to develop the modulation, then the variation of the voices in the radio program. It is very important, and for that reason I generally give the task to all the students. I would like to share, because I don't want to teach you at the beginning, as I mentioned, that I want to discuss with you. You are more experienced, you have lots of experiences. Only I want to share my experience. That what I generally do. I ask all the students when they join in the university, I ask the students to read loudly the newspaper for half an hour every day. That is the first task for 1 month. So
the same exercise we normally follow in the classroom also.
Yes.
That is the practice. just to
Yes.
make.
Yes, sir. So that is very important because it gives the fluency, no? Of reading thing. And so that is very, very important. And after that only, as I mentioned, that understanding the silence is very important. If they understand the silence, they will do the variation of their sound and modulation, everything they will be able to do that. But before that, they should understand the silence. As I mentioned, that silence is different. Silence, the feelings of silence is different everywhere. It is in different places you will find a different silence. If something happens, then the silence is different. Okay, if in a very happy moment, then also silence is different, but silence is everywhere. So we have to, means like a हम लोग जैसे माला बनाते हैं ना, मीन्स एक एक ये करके जोड़ के हम लोग माला बनाते हैं, इसी हिसाब से मीन्स इन द साइलेंस ना we have to add word by word, na one by one word we have to add, and then only the entire thing will be completed. Not only the word, the sound effect is also required. In even you're swelling, or if you're drinking a glass of water, that you cannot show in the radio or audio program, audio medium. So here that should also be with the sound only, with only the sound you have to represent that incident or that sequence of event. So everything you have to, means as I told that means something, the dripping of water, okay, that sound should reflect that particular, and it will be it should have that capacity to visualize that particular incident. That is important. So I would like to request all of you that ask all the students to understand silence first, then they will be able to develop the other all the other qualities of audio program, radio program.
Thank you very much for your answer.
Thank you so much for your question also. I think I can take last one question, or if
Hello,
there
is there any other questions?
Sir, myself Nasri from Satyabama University, sir.
Yes.
Sir, if you are starting a community radio in the regional place like Tamil Nadu, what language of the program should be only in Tamil, or maybe we can add English? They give you more importance to it. Which language, sir?
See, I personally believe that if it is a community radio, then you should concentrate only on your local language, not only the language, even on the dialect. So you are asking about other languages, use of the other languages. If the audience demands, then of course, definitely you have to add the other languages. But my idea is that not even the language, not even only the only Tamil. So if there are dialects of Tamil, where if the one dialect is popular in that particular area, okay, then I think you should use that dialect, not even the language. Okay, suppose in Assam, I belong to Sibsagar district. Sibsagar is in Upper Assam. Just to visualize it, it is near to Arunachal, that China kind of thing, that particular area. So the Assamese standard language is what I speak. That is the standard language, because the first American missionaries started their publication of the newspaper from my place. So that is why. So my language is, my dialect is the standard Assamese language. But here in Guwahati, or in the lower part near to Bengal, the language is something very different. When I came to Guwahati, I was just thinking that, is it a different language? The same Assamese language, but dialect is so different that I was just thinking that, is it a different language? I don't know this language. Okay, so, but you have to respect, you have to give that respect to that dialect. Okay, if they say in this dialect, you shouldn't say that, no, you have to do all the program in the standard language. In the standard means your classic Tamil language. No, it should be in the in the local dialect. And I would like to take the scope here that always people, because we Assamese speakers are a little less in comparison to Bengali and other languages. So, but we feel proud that the Ramayana was first translated into Tamil, and second in Assamese, and in Hindi and Bengali means much later than that. So I would like to request you to ask your students of Satyabhama University, and if you have a community radio, and also to develop all these programs utilizing the local dialects. Don't go to English or Hindi if it is not required. If there is no demand from the audience, even no classical Tamil also if it is not required.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
I think we can conclude. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Ankuran, sorry, I was.
It is absolutely fine. No problem. No problem. You are my so close friend, and so you shouldn't say to say sorry to a friend, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Because I was busy with the public Viva's examination from 11 o'clock. Now it is over.
Yes.
Is there any final question from the participants? Otherwise, we can close it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, dear Ankuran. He's a very well-known academic from the Northeast, but he's also popular everywhere in India. He was very much associated with researchers. He did a lot of researches with many organizations and funding agencies. He did a lot of training programs in other countries also. Is very on behalf of myself, me and our College of Engineering, Viluppuram, and on behalf of our own university, Anna University, I thank, formally, I thank Dr. Ankuran for his wonderful session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Arulchelvan, and so who is a very good friend of mine, who is also the Dean of College of Engineering of Anna University. And thank you so much. I would like to request only a small announcement for all the participants. So it is, there is again another connect of Tamil Nadu, that the first journalism course was introduced by Dr. N. Besant at National University Adyar in Tamil Nadu in the year 1920. Yes. So from that date, so we have completed 100 years of media and journalism education in the country, and not only in India but also in the entire South Asian region. So we are going to organize a conference called 100 years of media education, and I would like to request all of you. It will be a 1 year program. We are just planning to have a physical convention in December 2021, but in 19th and 20th of December. So we will have the first inaugural international web convention on 100 years of media education in India and South Asia. So I have just shared a link, that is www.mediasouthAsia.com. This is a website. Yes. And I would like to request all the esteemed friends, participants, and the faculty members to kindly visit this website and to also to join this conference. So thank you so much. Thank you so much again, my friend Arul, for giving me this opportunity to share something about the storytelling. It is also a new area of that I have just covered. Only once I spoke about this storytelling for Daman Government College, and this is my second on the storytelling. And so I'm just thankful to you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next session will be